Sweet. Got that going. Yeah, I got some notes, so let's get after it. Let's get after it. So, hi Doug.
What's up,
Yes.
bro? Owen?
Frederick Von Douglas Moonshort the Third. Is that correct? Is that the full
That's
name?
correct, man.
Nice.
That's a made-up name, of course, though.
Oh, okay.
My name is actually Frederick Douglass Shorts.
Okay, it is just Douglas Shorts. Got it.
Yeah, but I added some other shit to make it interesting.
Make a
And
little.
but as soon as we started the interview, here motherfuckers sorry, here people starting to reach out, but I'm gonna just ignore them. No worries.
Okay, no worries. So you released Members Only today, right?
Yeah, yeah, man. Thanks, man. I looked on and seen it.
Yeah,
Cool
yeah,
in the gang, man. I love it. I got to do some promotion now.
yeah, dude. And you have
You know what the funny thing about it is? It's in the release radar. One of the tunes off of that already on release radar.
Oh, awesome, man.
Yeah, I looked. I put it in, and I didn't see the EP, but I seen release radar, and Know You is on the list.
Oh, sweet, dude. Awesome. Man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they giving me love over there.
Awesome. Yeah, and then you got Crossing Paths next week. I know we talked a little bit about the process, but I was curious if you could give me any insights on the recording process and writing process for this release.
Which one for Crossing Paths?
The EP.
Oh, for the EP? Okay, there's a guy named Gil Masuda up in Toronto, super producer, man, top flight producer. Would I be interested in working with him? I said, of course, but I don't have time to screw around. So if you want to do it, let's do it.
Yeah.
So he came right on down to Chicago in the wintertime a couple of years ago, freezing cold. We went into a hotel, and he brought his own little recording equipment. I brought a monitor or something, a set of monitors, and we recorded that album within a week right in a hotel room, just me and him, lyrically and everything.
Wow. You know, I really like it. I really like It Is What It Is, especially, and I
on the spot lyrics. You know?
Yeah, I was wondering if it was just kind of improvised type of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But when we came up with the idea, we actually worked probably in about 30 minutes. We had a song.
Yeah, you know, I loved kind of your formula that you run with kind of just the bass, keys, organ synths, and kind of drum grooves plus your vocals. I mean, it's a really good sound. So was he doing that all? Like
he already had the tracks pre-recorded.
Okay.
He got a studio in Toronto, so all of the music tracks, I wasn't there to see how he did it, but he did it. He got a little personal studio set up pretty nice, and he did all his tracks. And he sent me the tracks, and I wrote lyrics to everything that he sent me. So then he was so excited, he jumped on the first thing smoking, got here, and we put it together. But then the dude sit on it for a year, damn near 2 years, man.
Yeah.
He's mixing it every week. I said, when are we gonna get to hear something? No, I'm still mixing. It went on for about a year, man.
That's how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I think what you discuss in your music is very relatable topics, and I think that just in general, the sound of your music is very timeless, but also it sounds modern. It's it sounds like it could have came out. It sounds like it could have came out in the 70s or 2025, 2026. So
that's unique.
Yeah.
I never heard that critique before.
Well, it's not a critique; it's a compliment. I'm just saying,
but I'm saying it's a good compliment, a good critique, because I like I said, I never heard it before. That didn't mean it was not good.
Yeah. Because I know we had discussed with Charles Bradley, you kind of said how his sound was a little bit more dated, and you're like, my stuff's more fresh and like
I didn't mean it in a derogatory fashion. It's just that we have a different style.
Totally.
I think my style is more modern.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I agree. And kind of along with that, can you kind of touch a little bit more kind of on I know your background a little bit, but just kind of reiterate kind of your story, like with your uncles and all that, and then kind of
from the beginning or where?
Yeah, from the beginning, into the master plan, the mannequins, all that.
Okay, well, it started at home with my family.
Mm-hmm.
I had this crazy family, man. I love them, man. I'm the last one living. They would drink and fight and work. That was their thing. But they could sing. My whole family could sing, man. And so as I'm a little bitty shorty, I'm walking around the house, listening to these dudes doing barbershop quartet and stuff like that, and sounding, like the Four Lads, whoever was popular at the time doing harmonies, my uncles were just as good or better. And so I'm listening to this good music all the time. My mother sang, grandmother sang. So I naturally wanted to sing, but I was too small. So they pushed me away. Get out of here. You know, they put me in another room. No, you know, grown folks in here. And so they, you know, by them pushing me away, it made me want it more and more. So I told them, you know, one day I'm going to really sing and you'll be sorry you didn't let me, you know. And so eventually the tables turned because I worked hard at it. And I became the only person who was really a professional artist out of the whole family. So then they started asking me to sing. But I was past them at that point, but they became my big fans too, though. All right, now from that point, from listening to them, my mother bought a piano. This is the real beginning.
Yeah.
She bought a piano, actually for furniture, not for me to learn to play it. You know, it was a big thing in the neighborhood if you had a piano, just like when first people had televisions, person's got a piano, that's some status. So my mom was trying to get status. And I was just enamored with this piano. So whenever she wasn't around, I'm playing with it. So she found out that I was messing with it, so she got me lessons. But she sent me to the cheapest teacher that she could possibly find, this crabby old lady teacher. And when I take lessons, she slapped me on the hands with a ruler. You know, it was the dregs, man. So I couldn't handle it. Then she went and got herself a really top flight music teacher. My mom did. There was an excellent teacher, but it cost more money. So she didn't want to waste money on me. So she sent me to the worst teacher possible. And that teacher discouraged me from learning music, because the way she treated me, slapping me on the hands, and you know, it was just total bad. And I said, "The hell with this! I'm gonna be the guy who paid the musicians. I'm not gonna be a musician." So from that point, when I went to high school, I went to the same high school Curtis Mayfield and Jerry Butler, Major Lance, all of these guys went. So I had great footsteps to follow, and that's why I started the Mannequins, because my lack of playing ability, I said I got to find somebody who can play. So there was a guy in one of my classes. He was really a good player. He went to my church, and he had took lessons from the best music teacher. So I talked him into joining the group with me so he could be the musical background, the bass, you know. And he was cool. He could sing harmony, he could sing lead. So we found another guy. He was a gangbanger, actually. He was like what they have Crips and Bloods nowadays. He was a Stone or something, but he had talent. So he didn't really want to be in that gang shit. He wanted to be with us on stage. So we formed a group, the Mannequins. And then while we were at Wells High School, another guy, Lawrence Calvin, he really is the guy who got me into the recording industry, because his cousins were playing on all the million-seller records here in Chicago. He didn't have a group to mess around with. He was from the west side. We were from the north side. So it was like a barrier of us getting together. But I broke the barrier. I said, wait a minute, we need a third member, you know, another member in the group. Because we eventually became 5 members, but it was he was a chick magnet. That's why I wanted him. I said, you know, if his talent is not the best, he gonna bring chicks into the set, because he was so popular with the women, man. And he could dance. He was smooth. So, and then who else? We had Otha Alexander. He was good at harmony, and he had the deep baritone. So that was the Mannequins. While we were in high school, we recorded like 4 songs, and took it to a label called International Records. And it was a producer there, Don Carone. And he was enamored with the group, man, that we did a whole album over there. Actually, 4 songs. He brought some other New York musicians in and actually played to back us up, because we had our own musicians. Yeah, when I said the Mannequins, I didn't say anything about the musicians. I just mentioned the singers. But my buddy Tall Joe, who you've met, the guitar player, he's the first guitar player for the Mannequins. And then we got a guy, Keith Doc Samuels, he's in Atlanta. He was one of Ripple. He was the bass player, and Kenny Walker, he was the drummer. So we were one of the only groups, not the only, but one of the only groups that had the vocal group and had your own backing band. We had a rhythm section. So that was the Mannequins. We recorded, and then when they gave us a contract, my mother said, wait a minute, I don't sign nothing, because we were underage. She said, I'm not signing no contract, Doug. I said, well, what? You know, she said, let me put it through a lawyer's scrutiny. And then if the lawyer say sign it, then I will. But I'm not just signing anything you bring in here. So I'm mad at Mom, you know, because she wouldn't sign the contract. We already recorded. The record's ready to come out on the radio. And I'm hyped, and so I'm mad. Anyway, she got a lawyer And he looked at the contract. He bust out laughing. He said, "Wait a minute." He said, "This is ridiculous." He said, "Let me write a contract and give it to them and see if they sign it." So he gave him a counter contract, and that shot the deal. Nothing happened. So we had 4 records that recorded, and nothing gonna happen when they just went on the shelf because the contract wouldn't sign it. So that was pretty much the end of the Mannequins.
So you had 4 albums or 4 songs, you're saying, right?
4 songs. They were going to do an album, but we only got 4 songs.
Do you know what the content of the deal was, that it was so bad that he wouldn't sign it?
It was like the lawyer explained, they say on every page, whatever they gave you on this page, they take away on the next page, in different clauses. Say if we're gonna give you $100,000 for 5 years, but the next page you go owe us $100,000 for 10 years. It was just totally ridiculous contract, man. Back in that day, people didn't read contracts; they just signed them. But my mother had the wherewithal to go to a lawyer, though.
What was the label?
International Records. Yeah. And funny thing, the first group that they actually produced out of that session place over there at that studio had a $1 million record.
Wow.
The group right behind us, when we turned them down, they had a group in the wings. I don't remember the name of the group. I remember the name of the record. It was The Big Parade. It was a $1 million record. A month after we turned down the contract, they put out a group that had a $1 million record.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think
if we'd have went for the Okie Doke, we'd have had a $1 million record probably. They had the promotional wherewithal.
Do you think
but they wasn't paying you?
You think it would have been worth it to take that risk, or you kind of made peace with that?
Now, when I look back in retrospect, I think it would have been good to take the risk because nobody got paid back then.
Yeah.
I even had a fight with a record producer about that later on when Master Plan came along.
Yeah.
So let's progress from Mannequins to I went to Crystal Image. We just kept the rhythm section and fired their singers. That was a dirty move I pulled up, but these cats were not taking care of business, and I was serious about it, and they wasn't as serious about it. So I told the band, I said, "You guys want to work? You come on, go with me. To hell with the group." And sorry because they pushed me to that. So I took the band, and we became Crystal Image, and I got this girl, Carolyn Love, and she sang with us. That was a duet like Marvin and Tammy.
Yeah.
And we did that a few years until that played out. And then Tall Joe, he was with a group on Chess Records. They went on the road. And he asked me, I got out of music altogether after this deal with Carolyn Love. She went to Vegas. Funny thing, she was with us, right? And Ernie Terrell was a heavyweight fighter that Muhammad Ali had beat when he was at the height of his championship. Anyway, Ernie Terrell had a Vegas act. And he seen Carolyn with me and asked, could he take her to Vegas in his act? And so that was the end of our group then, because she went, of course, I'm not going to hold her back. And she went to Vegas with Ernie Terrell. And his group was a big flop to begin with. It was a big joke. So it didn't last. It maybe lasted a year or something. But she effectively ended our group. And then that was the end of her career when that shit broke up. And so I was at home taking it easy, wasn't even in music. And Joe was, like I said, on the road with the Shades of Brown. He came and asked me, would I be willing to go on the road with them as their chauffeur to drive them? I said, no, I ain't doing nothing else. Maybe that might be interesting. I'd be backstage and all that. He said, yeah, man, for sure. You'd be back in the music, man. You need to be around the groove. So I took the job as a chauffeur. Now, funny thing, chauffeuring in my car, though. I had a brand new Cadillac. I'm a young cat with a Cadillac, man, a Coupe de Ville. Now, I ain't gonna tell you how I got it. But it was a whole lot of drama out there in the street, man. But I was doing all right, from the street level. But I wanted to be in music, and Joe knew it. He pulled me back in, so I traveled with them. After about a couple of months of traveling with them, Joe said, "Don't y'all know that Doug can sing?" And we were at a rehearsal. I'm waiting on them to drive them somewhere. They said, get out of here, man, Doug. I said, yeah, Doug sings, man. Doug been singing before you guys. They joshed me and gave me the mic. Come on, let's see what you can do, Doug. So I was no longer the chauffeur. I was opening act for the Shades of Brown when we traveled. So I promised myself then I would never quit again.
Yeah. So sorry, what happened when they gave you the mic? It cut out. I just wanted to hear
Oh, I blew them away.
Yeah.
They didn't think I could sing at all, but they had no idea what was coming when I opened my mouth.
Hmm.
They didn't realize that I had a music career before they did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they just thinking I'm just some chump that Joe got to drive him around.
Yeah, yeah.
Which that what it was, but I'm just taking it all in as I'm driving them around, And I'm saying, shit, I could beat these dudes. Yeah, so yeah, that played out. We traveled maybe a year or two, and after they played out, they actually played themselves out because we had a big time producer. Bobby Miller was their producer. He was their benefactor. He got hooked up at Motown when Motown was still in Detroit.
Yeah.
So he was working with the Four Tops, people like that, Temptations.
Awesome.
He bought a building here in Chicago and told us, "Say, man, you guys been busting your ass on the road. Why don't you stay in Chicago and work a record label? So I'm gonna build a label. So I know how to do it because I was with Chess all these years, and I'm making money at Motown. So I'm gonna take some of that money from Motown and we're gonna develop our own business." So he did that. He set it up. 323 East 23rd Street. He bought that building, which became PS Studios, Paul Serrano's studio. Paul Serrano was the benefactor. He got lucky because Bobby Miller had put the money in the building this thing for us, for me and the Shades of Brown. The Shades of Brown broke up as soon as he bought the building. They didn't show up to songwrite and everything. Only me and one other guy, one of the Shades. We were the only two guys who show up every day to write songs and stuff. So Bobby came in town from Detroit and seen was nobody there working, but two of us. He said, "What? I'm putting my money in this. Nobody believe in what I'm doing, and I'm spending all this." Say, "Paul, you can have this place if you make some money. Pay me back." He was that disgusted. He told the rest of the group to say, "If I ever see you guys again, it'd be too soon."
Wow.
So that was the end of that whole deal. Yeah, they blew it, man. He was trying to build an empire, and he had the money to do it. You heard of this group, the Dells? Oh, what a night. They were a doo-wop group, big time though. He produced them. He made them who they are. And he had the same vision for the Shades of Brown, but they rejected it.
Yeah.
And mainly they rejected it over. They didn't want me as their lead. The lead singer is the one who blew the deal up. We had just come off the road. All we had to do was go in the studio and work on songs and record. The guys building us a recording studio. And one guy decided he was going to marry a girl he met on the road. So he didn't come back to Chicago. When we came back, he didn't come. He stayed. He called us, "Fellas, I'm sorry. I'm getting married. I ain't coming back."
Where was he at?
Huh?
Where did he stay at? Where did he?
Kalamazoo, Michigan, a cornflake capital. I couldn't believe it, man. Dude was a player. Everywhere we went, we were competing for chicks. We'd see who gonna get the baddest chick the quickest. The groupies and shit. Every time we go to, he was always competing with me. I'm single. He got no ties. He had a girlfriend or something, but still, he was out there competing with me for girls. He's the least person I think would get caught up in something like that. He found a chick with about 5 or 6 kids already, and he quit music to work 2 jobs to support her and them kids, man. And as God sees fit, paid him back because later on he caught her in bed with another man.
Wow.
So that I applaud him for it. That's good. That's what he deserved because he blew a career for everybody.
Wow.
And the rest of the guys, they didn't have any vision because Bobby Miller. So, well, if Earl ain't here, Doug know his show. So just put Doug in his place and we can keep moving. Yeah. But they didn't want me in the group, so they just let the whole thing go. That was that. So now I'm sitting around again with nothing to do. And who comes to the rescue once again? Tall Joe.
Joe, yeah.
He drives up in a van with a whole band and said, "Look, man, we're getting ready to go down to Peoria or somewhere. We got a gig, man. You want to roll with us? Do a couple of numbers." Oh, again, I'm not doing anything else. Yeah, let me grab a mic, some clothes. I got in the truck with them, went on the road. It was James Clark Band, the United Cleaning Company. We were on the road for about a year. And that was a escapade because James didn't like to pay people. He was a crook. You know, the only way you got paid with James Clark.
Oh, James Clark.
Yeah, the only way you got paid with James is you eat good. For breakfast, he'd take everybody out for breakfast or lunch or dinner. He fed us well, but when it come time to get paid, he had this or that. You know, he had an excuse. Something happened to the money. The car blew up. He came up with outlandish things, you know. And so he created master plan with that jive he was putting down. We put up with him for about a year, and we study wasn't getting paid, man. You know, we out on the road, man, and not getting paid. Hungry. So he made it a point to feed us so we wouldn't be hungry, but we had no money. So I finally confronted him. I said, James, you know, this shit you telling me, man, it ain't flying no more, man. You know, from now on, when you book a gig, I want to be there and be in on the contract because you keep telling us that we coming up short on money. I want to know why. So he said, well, no, Doug, you can't be part of the business. I said, well, no, I can't be in the group then if that's the case because I'm tired of not getting paid. I want to know why I'm not getting paid. So come to find out he was flying girls around the world and shit, you know. That's why money was going. He was living the life and we were starving. Chicago, I'm gonna set up a couple of gigs. If you guys want to come, leave James and come on join me. And that's master plan started from that.
Joe came in and said that?
Joe came. Joe was first coming. Dean Knox. He was the sax player. He the one came up with the name Master Plan.
Nice.
He was ready to get away from James too. I mean, him had been tight on the road. You know, we hung out a lot on the road. So when I said let's do something different, he was game.
What about the really good bass player?
That was Eddie. He was already here in Chicago. He was a member of a rival group of ours. There was a group called the Fugitives. Okay. They were the only other self-contained act around the North Side. And they were pretty much the premier act because they were getting all the work. We came along and kind of dwarfed them in a sense, you know, because we had a bigger, more exciting show.
What you've been saying the North Side? I thought you were predominantly more on the South Side.
No, that's later in life. My mother moved out here. We were all from the North Side.
Oh, okay.
And like you said, the bass player's name was Eddie Manning. When we started Master Plan, I told Joe, you know, if we can get Eddie Manning, because he ain't with the Fugitives right now. They had some kind of falling out. And so I said, this is perfect timing. We get Eddie, that'll clean up our rhythm section, you know. So who else? Kenny, yeah. Kenny from the Crystal Image, Kenny Walker. So I called him and I called Eddie. Eddie was game because he'd seen us. He liked our style. So he said, yeah, I'll play with you, man. You know, so we hooked up Eddie, Kenny, and Joe. That was that's the beginning of Master Plan with Dino's the sax player. So we just had 4 pieces. Then we put it in the paper and got a trumpet player, so it made us 5 pieces. Then we started working. Then we found Joanne Addison, the singer. So it was 7 of us then. Yeah, so and then we traveled a couple of years on the road, and that's when we did the recordings while we were on the road. Yeah. Any more questions?
Yeah, I do. Well, yeah, I have a ton. Well, so I watched your Chicago Reader interview for this from like 2013, and they mentioned in there that you had moved back into your mom's place had a bunch of records lying around, and so you just decided to throw them away.
throw away the garbage can. You know, I was down there cleaning up the basement. You know, 'cause I lived in Cali.
Yeah.
You know, I was here for a visit. You know, but I left a lot of my stuff here. A lot of my personal stuff was down in the basement. And I looked and seen how cluttered it was. I said, I could give us some room. You know, I ain't gonna do nothing with these records. And so happened the garbage truck was coming down the alley as I'm thinking this. So I opened the gate and quickly took boxes of records out to the garbage man so he could put them in the garbage truck. And then turned out later on, maybe 10 years later or something, that record became valuable. And I put them in the garbage.
Yeah, so what happened? Somebody from Cherry Records found it, that guy, or somebody else found it?
No, it was some DJ over in England or somewhere came across the record.
It's crazy.
And he created a bidding war for that record. You know, I think
even though it was yours?
Right, but he was a DJ. He found, you know, how these diggers they pride themselves on finding something nobody else got.
Yeah, well, yeah,
something unique.
I mean, yeah, because we've discussed kind of samples and stuff, and I mean, yeah, your stuff is the exact type of stuff that somebody would sample. for rap music, right? Because it's, you know, kind of this you know, stuff that wasn't as universally distributed, wasn't on a major, kind of like a band that isn't, you know, it's not the Jackson 5 or something like that in town, but it's something that is in that vein, and so it's the exact type of stuff that people would use for that purpose. But
yeah, and they have been sampling my stuff too.
yeah, I know you had said that.
Yeah, I got an issue right now with somebody who sampled one of those master plan songs.
Yeah. Yeah, so what kind of was the end of the master plan? Because you did like an album or two, and then there was an issue with the recording or something, and you just kind of moved on from that.
The original group that I was just telling you about with Eddie Manning, Kenny Walker, Joe Stevenson, myself. Oh, I left Archie out. Archie was one of the Fugitives too. Two members from the Fugitives came over to us. So yeah, we had that group, and what happened? Joe got religious, I think. Joe was the one pretty much blew that group up. When he dropped out, we didn't have anything going. So Archie, I picked up guitar. Archie was not a guitar player. He was just a vocalist, just like me. And when Joe left, Archie went to school to learn how to play guitar. So we stumbled along until he was able to play. And he got pretty good, and we went on the road again. And we got a different drummer. We hired Al Brown, and there was a bass player from another rival group, Greg Poindexter. He was with Speed Limit 25. And they were rival groups. And so he wasn't happy with them. So we pulled him, and we got Al Brown, the drummer. So we had a whole new master plan. We went on the road and stayed about a year. We went to Canada and everything. We did good. But then when we came back from Canada, that's when we decided to record an album, right? And that's where the first master plan album came from. Brunswick Records. Our manager at the time actually was a executive at Brunswick. He had a lot of big hit records, most notable, Higher and Higher by Jackie Wilson. You know, your love lifted me higher. Well, he was one of the original writers on that song. So he was our manager. So we figured, we knew Brunswick was a crooked company. You know, they had a terrible reputation. But I figured, well, if this guy's our manager and he's up in there, he's been dealing with these snakes, he can navigate the way through for us. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
So he came to me and said, Doug, man, you guys got a good product. I'm gonna give you a perfect deal. Give you 50% of production, 50% of the publishing, which was unheard of at the time. Nobody did that. But he knew from where we were coming from business-wise, the deal had to be. So he lied to us, actually, you know. So actually, we were doing recording. We were doing fine. We were maybe halfway into the album.
Yeah.
And house producers started getting involved in our project. You know, like I said, we're supposed to be producing ourselves. We didn't have a producer. You know, figure Gary, our manager, was producing, if anybody, you know. But here, some of the people on the Brunswick staff started getting involved in our session. And it started getting to be irritating to me, you know, when they kept on getting a little bit too involved. You know, wait a minute, now we're producing this, so, you know, what's your role? You know, are you a producer too? And so after they got overbearing, I stopped and went into the president's office. I said, hey, his name is Ray Haley. I said, Ray, you know, your staff has been getting involved in our session here. I said, now, don't get me wrong. I know they got some credible ideas, and I'm game to work with them. But I have one question for you. We were supposed to be producing this album ourselves. So now, are they expecting producing credit? Are they going to get paid? So, of course, my staff got to get paid, Doug. So, well, hey, but that wasn't part of the deal. You know, we should have knew this first, that I got to work with these other guys. Here, they in there meddling while we recording. So if they got to get paid, who's paying them? Is it coming out of my end or your end? So what do you mean your end? You don't have no end. Say, you crazy? Nobody gets paid from their first record. I said, no, you must be crazy. What the hell are we doing this for? I'm going to do this and not get paid? Are you crazy? So we went back and forth on this. He said, Doug, nobody ever makes money on their first record. The company just recouping their money. So you should just leave it alone, let go along with the flow, and you have a record out in a couple of months. I said, wait a minute, man. This is not the deal we made. You know, you and Gary are supposed to be partners, man. Now, we came in here on trust. And now the whole deal is changing in front of my eyes. So now we need to put something on paper. He said, you're crazy. He said, I ought to come from behind this desk and kick your ass. Now at this point, he didn't really stepped on my toes because I'm street, man. I don't know nothing but the streets. So I said, okay, you might whoop me. You might come across here and do what you're saying, but I don't think it's going to be easy. I'm going to bite you or kick you. I'm going to do something to you. You're going to know that you've been in a fight. Because he was a black belt in judo. So that's why he was talking that shit, because he figured he could intimidate me.
He didn't know that you were a quadruple black belt.
No, I wasn't that. No, that's one of the reasons I became a black belt, because of that incident. I was not. I was just street. But on the street level, you didn't want to mess with me, you know. Because I even told him, I said, you might whoop me, but you better make sure you finish me, because when I get to my ride, to my shotgun or something, it's your ass. You know, so he thought better about coming behind that desk messing with me when I told him that. But if I would have been intimidated, though, he'd have walked all over me. So I told him that, he bagged up. So I said, okay, this conversation over. I went back in the studio, told the group, said, pack this shit up. It's over. We done. And so they were thinking, what's going on? And he runs out of the office and starts telling Doug, it's crazy. You'll never go nowhere with this guy. He's gonna fuck you. You know, so you'll have a record out in another month if you get rid of this sucker. You know. And they turned around and went for it. They said, okay, yeah, we put Doug out the group then. I couldn't believe it. I said, wait a minute, you guys gonna put me out of my own group over this dude? I'm in there fighting for you, and he gonna sell you that I'm the crazy one? So, okay, that's fine. You want to put me out the group? I'm good with it. But the first order of business, go to that machine and start erasing that shit we recorded. He gonna have to write you some songs, because I wrote the songs, me and Archie. So Archie, if you want to roll with that shit, you good. But he looked at me and he seen where I was coming from. He thought, he said, no, Doug is right. Let's go. Let's get our equipment, get out of here. But he was going for it too if I didn't go off. He hate for me to bring that up to this day, because I tell him, Archie, you was a turncoat too. You was about to turn on me just like the rest of them. But you know, you didn't have nothing to work from. That record wasn't gonna come out. That's the only reason you sided back with me.
So this was Master Plan 1 though?
Mm-hmm.
But it did come out.
Yeah, but not from that. We walked out of there, right? But I was smart enough to take the master tape. I gangstered the master tape.
Oh.
It was we had it. So look here, you got to make me a 1/4 inch of this session. It was like on a 2-inch tape or something. I think it was 24 track, but I had it down to 2 tracks. So I took those 2 tracks, you know, on the little 1/4 inch, and went to another studio, so Ed Cody's studio, and Ed was a genius. He did a lot of stuff for me. I said, Ed, listen to this, man. Listen to the quality of it. Could we record on top of this and make a record? He said, of course. So that's exactly what we did. We took the tracks that we had at Brunswick and transferred them into Ed's machine and finished it. We finished the whole album.
Oh, wow.
So it didn't finish at Brunswick. We started at Brunswick, but when the deal fell through, I still had the master. So we went on and did it ourselves with Ed Cody.
Really adds more level to the Master Plan title.
Yeah.
Man, he stole the masters.
I didn't steal it. I took it.
Okay.
I gangstered it. You know, just, you know, I wanted to whoop this dude's ass anyway, the engineer, because he was costing us money. He's the reason I got hip to what was going on, because every time we take a break to make a correction, he'd disappear. So where's the engineer? He's at the bathroom. Every time, without fail, every time we stopped the music for a second, he gone. He disappeared 15 minutes or something. And I'm thinking, this is on the clock. You know, everybody else ain't paying attention to that, but I'm thinking about that. And we paying this dude by the hour, and he missing every 15 minutes. You know, shit, something got to change. So that's when I started seeing the whole game that was going on. I caught this motherfucker in the closet talking to this girl on the phone. You know, when I was trying to figure out where he was at, the next time I followed, and I found, I was like, man, what the hell are you doing? You know, we paying you, you know, and you in here talking to your girlfriend. So he didn't have no problem giving me the master tape, because, you know, I was pissed with him already. So he seen me go off with Ray in there, and we didn't fight. So he wasn't giving me no shit when I asked for that tape. He gave it to me.
Okay.
Plus, it was what, 7 or 8 of us too. You know, they back on my side, so they didn't have a shot.
Yeah. But Ray didn't want that to happen, though, I assume.
He let that tape go up out of there, because me and him already had it in his office.
Yeah.
So when I walked out to say, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
And he couldn't change it. He almost did. But when I told him the facts, that your record still ain't coming out because you got to erase this shit. You can't use this music. So that snapped everybody back to reality. And so then if they started some shit, it'd have been all of us on his ass. But right after that, I said, you know what? The business got a lot of gangsterism in it, so I'm going to run into this again in the future. So I better prepare myself. So I started training. Archie was already in jujitsu way back then.
Yeah.
And we had a friend that hung out with us. I didn't even know he was a black belt in karate.
Yeah.
And so Archie said, you ought to train with Fred. And I said, what Fred? Fred be hanging out with us? I said, yeah, he a black belt, man. He's dangerous. I never knew it. You know, he didn't promote the idea that he was a black belt, no bad dude, but he was just a real nice guy. And so since he was who he was, I said, well, that's the perfect guy to train with. So I started training with Fred, and 3 years later, I got a black belt.
Mm.
And Archie quit. Archie started, we was doing it together. We started classes together, and we got to brown belt, I think, before Archie quit.
Mm. Well, that's pretty far to then quit.
Yeah. I ended up giving him a black belt later on, an honorary black belt, because I had the rank, you know. Once you get third degree, you can pass out rank yourself. You can pass it out at first degree, really. But I waited until I had proper rank to try to pass rank out, because if you're a first degree black belt, how you gonna give somebody else a first degree?
Yeah.
You know? But it could be done. But I didn't recognize that, so I waited.
And now you're 5th degree?
6th degree.
It's crazy.
Actually, I got a certificate for 7th degree, but I don't honor it because I talked with the Grand Master of our association before he died, and me and him had a real good conversation. He was telling me that all the rest of it ceremonial is all BS. You know, it's about your contribution to the art, to your standing in your community, and these are the things where your rank comes from, not from your ability, not because you can break that many boards and all that. All of that shit no matter once you pass 3rd degree. And so from that conversation I had with him, every rank that you get behind that, it's just a joke basically to me, you know. Because that don't mean you can fight because you got 10 degrees. You're probably worst fighter in the room because you're old, but you know. By the time you get to 10th degree, who you gonna beat, man? Your grandkids? So it's a whole lot of nonsense involved with the martial art, you know. And I'm an old traditionalist, so I'll go with what the Grandmaster say. It's all puff. It's all ceremony after that.
Okay.
So I don't even recognize any degree above 6. The only reason I recognize 6 because I can pronounce it. I don't even know what they call the black belt after 6th degree. I ain't lying.
Wait, what's the 6th degree called?
Rokudan.
Oh, okay. It gets yeah.
It started by Shodan, Nidan, Sandan, Yodan, Godan, Rokudan, and it goes on all the way up to 10. But I stopped at Rokudan when I got 6th degree. I said, this is getting ridiculous. You know, I'm stopping right here. Because actually, I was a Shodan for years, for maybe about 5 or 6 years. I was a Shodan, 1st degree. I didn't know you needed to go no further, really. And a guy from New York came in and started teaching me a different style, a little bit different. It was close to our style, but he was like a 3rd degree when I met him. And he said, you know, man, you know, you good enough. You should be done got your 2nd rank by now. What are you still a Shodan for? So man, you know, I'm cool with it. You know, he said, well, you didn't train with me and learned all this. Well, cool. I won't turn it down. So he promoted me to 2nd Dan because I learned his style.
Okay.
So then I went maybe about 10 years before I went to 3rd Dan because I moved to California. I stayed out there, you know, and I trained out there, but I didn't have a sensei, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came back to Chicago from out there, I'm still a 3rd degree. Although I had fought in all the tournaments and everything, knew all of the celebrities. When I came back here, a friend of mine, Kirk, in fact, I got to call Kirk, Master Haygood. He's a good friend that goes back to the beginning of my training. He asked me, what rank are you now, Sluggo? Because that was my name. They didn't never call me Doug. They called me Sluggo. You know, everybody had a nickname back then, you know. And so he said, what rank are you, Sluggo? I said, 3rd degree. He said, you got to be kidding me. No, I was 2nd degree, Nidan. He said, you got to be kidding me, man. All these years, all the stuff you've been involved in, that's all you're 2nd degree? So you want some more rank? I can have Master Baker give you the next rank. I said, well, sure. He said, what rank you want? because I could have picked the rank at that point, because I had the time engraved. I just hadn't bothered with it. So he said, well, what you want? I said, well, shit, I'm neat. I just bumped me up to Sandan, 3rd degree. And so he introduced me to Master Baker, who knew me, and he had no problem giving me my 3rd degree. So I'm thinking that's the end of it there. But shit, every year or two now, they contact me with another degree. I haven't done anything different, but I'm part of the organization. So as time, it's just like, I don't know what to compare it to, but as time goes on, they call it time and grade. The more time you got, that's how you get more rank.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, don't make you no better, maybe a little wiser.
Okay.
So enough of the martial arts lessons.
How long were you in California for then, and when did you go out there?
About 19 years, I think. I went out there, but not a complete 19 years, because I moved around. I went out there in '88. I went to LA in '88. '90, I think. Yeah. And then we left LA and went to Vegas. And Vegas was too much. My lady liked to gamble too much, so we had to leave Vegas. We went to Minnesota, of all places, to Minneapolis. We moved to Minneapolis. It was too cold. We moved back to Chicago, and family was too big of a problem, so we ended up going back to LA. So probably about 3 years of that 19, I was not in LA. I was like either in Vegas or in Minnesota, but the rest of the time was in LA. So I say at least 15, 16 years I spent in LA.
And what took you out there? Was it music related?
Funny you should ask. Twice I went to LA on music. This time, my friend Roosevelt, who does a lot of my production, keyboard player, fantastic musician, right? He does most of my production. I'll put a song together and take it to him, for him take it to the next level. He'll sweeten it and play it, because he could play better than I could ever dream of playing it.
Yeah.
And then he has some good ideas that he put to it too. But anyway, I'm at his house doing some work with him, working on some of my music, and he keep getting calls, just like that shit at Brunswick, keep interrupting the process. And I kind of got attitude. Said, look, bro, I'm paying you. What's up? Who are you talking to? I said, who do you keep calling, interrupting our session? He said, I'm talking to Barry Gordy's brother, man. I said, what, man? Who? Robert Gordy? He said, yeah, man, he's trying to get me to come out to LA. I said, yeah, and what's the problem? And he would say, man, I ain't never been that far away from home. I ain't never flew and all that. I said, well, shit, it's other ways to get to LA, man. You can drive. I said, in fact, ask him, would he give me a contract as a writer and Archie a contract as a writer, and we'd drive you out there. And he said, you do that? I said, yeah, in a heartbeat. So he asked him, he said, would you give a writer contract to my buddies? He said, done deal. Just get on out here. They wanted him that bad. They were coveting Roosevelt.
Wow.
And so he said, okay, good, let's do it. So we planned on going, and I jumped the gun. Everything I own, anything that would hold me back. And I said, you know what? I can't wait on you guys. I'm going. Y'all, when you get there, call me.
Wait,
I'll be there when you get there.
Why do you jump the gun?
Because I'm excited, man. A writer's contract at Motown.
Well, wasn't
it
conditional on you bringing them, though?
Hmm?
Wasn't it conditional on you bringing the producer?
Yeah, exactly. Then that's what happened. Now you let me finish the story. I get there ahead of them. They supposed to come a week later. I flew. I fuck that. I ain't waiting around and driving. I'll make that long drive. I done made some money. I sold off equipment and shit. I had cash. So I'm flying. I'll be in a hotel. When y'all come next week, I'll be already acclimated. Mm-hmm. Next week never came. They didn't show up. I didn't hear from them. When I called them, they ghosted me. And I'm in LA now, staying in a motel every night. Sooner or later, my money is going to run out. I can't even go to Motown and approach them and say, I'm Doug, You don't know shit about me. I was coming with Roosevelt. If I didn't walk up in there with Roosevelt, I ain't had shit coming. So I didn't even attempt to go to Motown. So now I'm stuck in town and my money is running out. I said, well, damn, I'm going to look like a fool if I go back to Chicago now. Not a soul out and told everybody, fuck you, I'm going to California. And now here I'm back, dragging my tail. So I said, I can't go back. That'd be just too embarrassing. So I said, I'm staying. And so I found a crib, got lucky and met a dude. He hooked me up and got me an apartment in Hollywood. Now got me a job and I stayed. And now these cats still didn't come. We didn't communicate with me. They were so embarrassed. And then they realized that I was gonna stay. When after I didn't come back for 6 months or so, then we started talking. And I said, "Well, no point in me coming back." So that's how I got there on the whim that I was gonna be a writer at Motown. Now that's one half of the story. Another time when I actually did go to live. Now wait a minute, I got it mixed up. There's 2 times this happened. When we did the master plan thing, that first album, Something to Be Done and all that on it.
Yep.
It wasn't all master plan. We had some hired guns on that album. It was 2 guys in particular, Romeo Williams out of New York and Kenny Elliott. I don't know where Kenny came from, but anyway, they were 2 top flight guys. So I said, you know what, let's put these cats on the session because they the bottom, the drummer and the bass player.
Yep.
And they play together and they played on a lot of hit records. I said, let's hire them and put them on the master plan album. So that's what we did. When after we finished at Bronx, we took it and we were doing it ourselves. I hired these 2 guys to play the bottom on the record. And they did such a good job that I was so happy I paid them a bonus. I said, man, you guys laid this shit, man. So I'm gonna give you some extra money. And that doesn't happen in the industry, So they were just so blown away by that because they got to travel back to LA. And I gave them some extra money, And who does that? So they said, man, if you ever in LA, you look us up. And so maybe I got an opportunity. A friend of mine flim-flammed me into going to LA. So I went on to LA, and that's the first people I called. And they said, look, man, we've been waiting to hear from you, man. We love you, man. Say, we over in Motown. Why don't you come over? We working, but as soon as we get through working, we can have lunch. Like, cool. That's an easy place to find. That's the first place I went in LA was to Motown. They there working, right? They took me up into the studio, and they were in a big studio working. They said, you sit here in Studio B until we finish recording, then we go to lunch. So I'm sitting in Studio B, killing time. They had a nice piano, so I'm playing this baby grand, working on my songs.
Yeah.
I got so caught up in it, I didn't realize they had finished their session and came into Studio B where I'm at and picked up the instruments and started playing behind me. And all of a sudden, my arrangements in my head, they come into life. I'm thinking I'm dreaming or something. I didn't even know they came in the room. And I said, damn, man, how do you guys do this? How do you know what I'm thinking? You playing exactly the way I'm hearing. Sessions every day, demo sessions and shit. So they just got a knack. If you got an idea and they hear the chords, they know where to take it.
Mm-hmm.
So here again, that was the first time. I didn't stay this time. I was offered a contract because Romeo, the bass player, he was tight with Robert Gordy. He was real tight with him. And when they heard my arrangements, when we was playing them, he said, wait a minute, man, you should be writing here. They changing the staff. They putting out all the old writers and bringing in new writers. So you want a gig at Motown? So of course. He walked me right into Robert Gordy's office and say, this is my boy out of Chi-Town, man, give him a contract. Robert Gordy put a contract in front of me. And I said, whoa, it was just overwhelming because at the same time, we were still back home working on that album. We had only finished a few songs. And this was before I had to blow up with Ray. Mm-hmm. So I told him, hey, man, I love to sign this contract. It's my dream. I've been dreaming of being in Motown, but I'm already caught up in a deal back in Chicago. So give me a chance to go back and clean this up, and I'll be back. He said, okay. So he put the contract back in the drawer. And I said, okay, I'll be back. Never got back. It took me 10 years to get back.
Oh.
About 10 years, he wasn't even running the company no more. They sold the company or something.
Gosh.
Yeah. And this is the kicker, because when I went back for the group, and they stuck me in the back. Like I'm telling you, we in the studio recording, and they're gonna let Ray drive a wedge between us. Crazy, man. So they stuck me in the back. I turned down Motown to be with them, and they stabbed me in the back. So that was the end of Master Plan then.
Wow. Wow. Damn. So you would have been a writer on Motown. What years?
Right.
What years? What years?
What years?
Yeah.
That was in the late 70s, like what? I'd say about 78 or something.
Oh man.
Boy, no, it had to be the 80s, because about 80, because it took me about 88. It took me exactly 10 years before I got back. So it must have been about 78. I must have first went there in 78 and that's when they offered me the contract. And that's about when we was recording too, about that time.
Okay. I'm just trying to think timeline, like the significant was Motown kind of still at its peak or was it kind of coming down?
No, it was in a transition because Motown's peak was in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
But then they decided to move west. At least Gordy wanted to be closer to Vegas. That's the story I get. So he moved the company to the West Coast. Plus, he wanted to be get in the movie industry. He wanted to be a movie mogul. But they kind of blacklisted him, didn't really let him in the club. But anyway, he sold the company after they were in LA for so long and they were doing big things. But he wanted to do movies, so he sold the company. He sold Motown to MCA, I believe.
Wow.
So there was a whole transition going on at this time. I went at the perfect time. If I had signed that contract, I'd be somebody today. Because
that's crazy.
they had the machinery to make it happen, and they wanted a fresh crew. I would have been part of the fresh crew. The old was going out and the new was coming in. And my dumb ass didn't sign the contract.
You have written on like Marvin Gaye and stuff like that?
Anybody, and I had access to anybody at Motown, man. Because that's the way it worked at Motown. Whoever got the best song gets the deal.
That would have been awesome.
They have a writers meeting and everybody present their music. And whoever music they choose, that's who get it. It ain't like Smokey get first pick and shit. No, he got to write a better song than Whitfield.
Wow.
So I would have been right in the mix, man.
That's
and the real beauty of it, they paid a salary, a weekly salary. Whether I wrote a hit or not, I get paid every week.
Yeah.
That's the kicker, man.
And that doesn't exist at all anymore.
No, not to. Well, yeah, actually, some big publishers, people are on staff writers. That does happen still.
It's very rare, though. I feel like, yeah, that's wow, that's a really cool story.
It was the norm back then.
I didn't know that because, yeah, I mean, your stuff. I mean, listening to the Master Plan records, it really does sound like it could have been a Motown release. So that's why, like, that's crazy that you almost were a part of that.
Well, I love Motown music, man. I learned how to play bass practicing Motown records, listening to James Jamerson.
Yeah, I mean, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. Yeah. Wow. That's a really cool story. I was trying to think what I was going to say, looped into that. Yeah, I don't know. That's really cool. So yeah, in that Chicago Reader thing, it was kind of presenting it as your kind of return. Had you taken a break from music in the early 2000s for a while, or was it just that's when you got set up with Cherry Records for those few releases?
Well, I was working on music the whole time. I wasn't active, but I was at home recording, because I'm a songwriter first. Yeah. So when Cherry's come along, that was through Robust. That's when I first met Robust.
Yeah.
He found out that I was a writer. He saw my friends would die over this music you're writing. So he introduced me to Andrew at Cherry's Records. And that's where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. He started a label just to put my record out.
Wow.
But then it wasn't really in my corner like I thought he was,
Yeah, no, you'd said that, but based on the video, it sounds like you guys sold out of the record, the physical copies, though, which is great.
We didn't make but 300 copies. How hard is it to sell 300 records?
I mean, I get what you're saying, but like nowadays when it's a digital age, I know 2013 it wasn't quite that point, but like I think it's kind of hard when like not everybody's buying anymore. It's not about buying. So, but I mean, I see your point.
But what he did do for me, he introduced me to a whole new community. I knew nothing about the record diggers. People go looking for these rare records and stuff.
Yeah, no,
I knew nothing about it, so he opened my eyes. Best intentions for me. He still elevated me to another level because here's a market I didn't know existed.
That's a huge thing for sure. And then also, I mean, on the point, I know you want to sue those artists that are sampling your stuff, but if you could work out a deal where they just like, credit, like say like, using Doug Short's Master Plan, I mean, that's great. If there's something,
I offered them a deal, man.
Something like that.
I would. That's all I wanted in the first place. Just give me part of the royalty.
Credit. Yeah. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
I got to get part of the royalty. If I wrote the song, just because you reused it, don't make it yours. You got to share the royalty. I don't want it all, but You got to at least share with me.
No, that's valid.
Oh.
But yeah, I feel like we could talk for 2 hours, but I think I have another.
I'm game.
I know.
I got so many stories, man.
That's what
We
I'm
can do
saying.
a few. We could do a series, man.
We probably could. But I got another meeting lined up in a few minutes, so let's just wrap up for now, at least.
All right.
Let's just talk.
Anytime you need some content, call me. I got some stories for you.
Yeah, definitely. But like, so 2026, you've been saying you want to be more active. You want to get after it. You know, we got this release out today. We got Crossing Paths next week.
Yeah.
Now, how are you looking to? How are you going to distribute the physicals at Crossing Paths now? You're just going to save them for the April show, or?
I'm be pass them out as I go. Like I'm taking some with me to Germany and Japan, man.
Oh yeah. Sure. Yeah, we should have talked about that trip. But yeah, so you're going to be out in Germany and Japan the next month. You know,
Yeah.
music,
January, February.
recording, and you're going to be doing some promo out there as well too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And then yeah, just do you have any goals for like stuff, you know, releases this year or shows or anything like that?
Not any particular number. I don't care too much about too many shows. I want to release a lot of music though. I got so much music in the can, and it's like I was listening to Jazzy Jeff saying, release it. You know?
Yeah.
So ain't no point in holding on to shit. I'm gonna start releasing maybe a tune a month.
I agree. That's a good goal. And that's also like the very kind of modern approach. Like that's what artists are doing now. So it's good to kind of you're in line with that, because you know it used to be an album every couple of years, and now it's
no, that's too slow, man, for me.
I know. I like.
I want to move.
I like your attitude towards it. Yeah, that's great. Well, damn, yeah, I feel like I wanted to talk to you about Charles Bradley and Menahan Gang, but I guess we can talk about that another time.
Next time.
But yeah, you know, I appreciate you sitting in. A lot of good stuff in there. Yeah, well, we'll talk soon. Let me end the recording. But